WeRiseMag.com.
This is Diamond J, We Rise Magazine. We're sitting here with Edrick Browne. Hello. Hello. How are you doing, Diamond? All right. Now, how long you been into this business of yours? Like, where do you come from? All of the above, you know? Okay, I've been doing the business of acting since I was a child, actually. I'm from Central Islip, born in Midwood, Brooklyn, and my mother moved me to Long Island for a better quality of life, and we arrived into Central Islip. And she always had me involved in the arts since I was a child. I mean, I was into tap dancing, played the piano since I was 4, you know, saxophone since I was probably 5th grade. So I was always doing something. She put me into theater, and I developed a love for it. And I started doing it in, there was a church on Lemon Street in Central Islip called Hope Missionary Baptist Church. That's where I did my first play. I must have been about 8 years of age. And I liked it. You know, and I was always used to being in front of people because I sang in the choir at 5, I was in recitals at 4, played the piano, and just constantly grew from there. So you was comfortable at performing in front of a loud audience, or not even a loud audience, like a bunch of people or something like that? Yeah, I definitely would say I was nervous as I am now. Whenever I perform, I still have a butterfly, if you will. But it was a butterfly with the intent of doing good. So I was nervous enough because I didn't want to mess up. I take it serious. So that's what my nervousness was based out of. I was comfortable with doing it. Alright, so before you get into the into your role that you play, do you do a certain ritual, or do you, like a week before you act the actual shoot, do you like turn into that person? No, I don't. I know there's some actors who do great analysis and they want to really delve deep into the character so they may become the character like what you're speaking of for an extended period of time. I don't. However, I'll do extensive research on the character. If it's more than a couple of lines, then if I have to be, one time I had to do a character where I was a heroin addict. So I went on the east side of Harlem. I studied a lot of heroin addicts, watched their behavior, so I can get that down. Donald Goines has a great book called Dope Fiend. I read that book to get a better idea, and unfortunately, coming from where I came from, in Central Islip, Long Island, you could see that, if you will. So just go home and watch, if you will. That's what it is. Yeah. Edrick Browne, the person. Edrick Browne, the person. Interesting. I like others to define who I am. So based on what people tell me, I'm a pretty regular guy. I'm a guy who loves to exercise, I love the outdoors, I love my friends, I love my family, I love to explore, I love to see things, I love to learn. That's who I am as a person. Yes, sir. I've been to Europe, not as extensive as I would have liked. Been to the Caribbean, that's where my roots are from. I'm first generation on my father. My mother, I'm second generation, from the island of Grenada / Carriacou. That's where her family's from, in Jamaica, and my father's island of Nevis. So I've been to those islands, been to Europe, England, France, as I said before. But I would love to travel more. How many acting jobs have you done? I started off in theater, so I've done many plays throughout the years. If I had to give you a number, tally up a number of plays, maybe 30, 40 plays over the years. Films, maybe close to 100 films. Now, with that being said, there are some films that will never see the light of day. There are some films that are independent. I did some school films, student films they're called. If NYU was shooting, when I wanted to break into, make that transition from stage to film, I would go to Manhattan, humble myself just to be in anyone's film. I would go up to the students and say, can I be in your film? So I shot many of those. Like Columbia had student films, and NYU and so forth. So I've been in many films. What would you say, which film kind of put you out there, like, what's your biggest breakout moment? I haven't really had the real breakout moment that I'm looking for, but the one film that I've been recognized a lot for was a movie called Nine Dead that I did. And I think that was a good movie. Yeah, and that was a movie where I played an individual that was housed in a basement, and I was there with the sole purpose because I interacted with my captor's son, and we needed to find out the reason why we were there. I was there with 9 other individuals. The total was 9 in total, and I had to find out why we were there. What kind of advice can you give a person that's trying to get into study entertainment business? If you want to get into any business, no matter what it is, either it be entertainment or it be law, psychology, know what you're getting into. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people say they want to get into something that have no idea what it is. When I made the conscious effort that I wanted to fully pursue this full time and abandon all the jobs, I made sure in college I studied. I studied the history of acting. I knew where the origins was from. I knew who my forefathers were, like the Paul Robesons and you know, Oscar Davis, and people like those who came before me to allow me to be able to be held in like where I'll be considered for a role. And I wanted to know the business from the front end of acting. So right now I'm doing a lot of acting, but I'm moving towards that role of wanting to produce the films that I'm in. It makes no sense for someone to decide your fate in life. If you're capable of thinking, use your mind. So I want to decide what I'm going to do next instead of having another man decide. When did this come about? Like when did you finally figure out like I'm just put all into acting, but not the all, you know? Well, it's been a work in progress, and I'll explain that. I, from a child, knew this is what I wanted to do wholeheartedly, and I was going to pursue it, but I wanted to have other things in place. So I made sure I got my degree because I knew I would definitely need money to pursue this. And I wanted to have some things in possession, like a property, a home, and a car. And I knew in order to do that, I would have to get my degree. And then once I got those things, I said, let me now focus on this wholeheartedly. So I always knew this was a plan in the back of my head. That's what I wanted to do. So I needed to get a house so I could live in, so I could act. I didn't want to rent, so I wanted to own something. I needed to get a car so I could get around, so I needed to buy this, and I didn't want to have a car note, so I made sure I had the money to buy it outright.
So, before the acting career, what was your hobby?
Well, I still have a lot of hobbies. One of my main hobbies is working out. I love to build things. Like I'm very much into restoration of cars, working with wood. Like I built my bed, coffee tables. Love to renovate a house. Like I'm into real estate. Like I'll get a house and restore it. Restoration of cars is one of my biggest hobby still right now. Like I'll get a car and restore it. And totally fix it up. And get a car that's totally rusted out. Someone else that sees a car and sees trash, I can see the potential. And I guess I'll look at that hobby as I look at my life. For me, unfortunately, I hate this to sound cliche, but as a black male, for some people that's just trash in society. So my mother saw the potential in what I can do.
This should be a nice little 1967 out there waiting for you to hook it up.
Exactly, you already know that 69 Mustang that I was still.
What's the difference between the theater and the actual film? Is there a difference between it? Or?
To me, there is a difference. The major difference is the immediacy of it. In theater, you immediately see the reactions to your voice. There's also no do-over. If something goes wrong, you have to work through it. It's like life. In life, you're in a situation, it happens, you have to work through it. Every day we improv. People say I can't improv. Right now, I don't have a scripted line of what I'm going to say. You're just speaking, and that's how theater is. That's what theater is. You know, theater, yes, it's scripted, but if something goes wrong, you have to adjust at that moment and go through it. With film, you know, you have the cut, and they'll edit and change and alter things, and it's very fictitious. Now, there could be a sense of authenticity to it, depending on how it's put together, but it can be really tricky. Because you can go back and alter, doctor, add things. You could do a scene with someone that you've never met, depending on how it's cut. It's just like music. Many artists have never met, but they're on the same song together, singing together, and they never seen each other. So I love that, the intimacy of being with the audience and the direct reaction to your voice.
Is there a certain role that you wouldn't play?
A role that I would not play. I'm not interested in anything that's going to show typical, stereotypical, just a stereotypical life that people assume that we live every day. I'm not interested. I think it's been done. The Boys in the Hood is exhausting. Not the movie Boys in the Hood, but that whole conversation of us in the hood, that whole lifestyle is exhausting. There's a way of playing, there's negative things that happen, and you can do it in a dignified manner. You can play a negative role in a dignified manner as American Gangster. This gentleman was doing something negative, but he shows that there was another element to it. But at least if I do a role, I want to see it done with its multiple layers to the character. I don't want to play a one-dimensional role that's negative, because then no one has any feelings or care for that individual.
What are you listening to? What's in your CD?
Even I listen to a very varied selection, and I will explain. Edrick Browne, I like his Romanza album, I listen to that. I have Christopher Williams, for some reason I listen to that. It's old school R&B. Lettucey, Neo Soul, I'll have that in there. It's pretty varied. I love classical music, depending on what I'm into. If I'm going for a long walk, I listen to classical music. Sometimes I listen to a lot of rap. Farrell March. I love hip hop. And I'm unfortunate because I like a lot of the older hip hop.
Nothing wrong with that,
it seems like it's going in a circle. There's really nothing being said. I like to listen to a lot of the older hip hop or a lot of the older artists who are still in the same vein of the older hip hop. So I listen to this is a guy out of New Orleans. I listen to a commercial with him. Jay Electronic. I like his music. Most Def, I have it in mind. My iPod as well. Stuff like that, De La Soul, Little Long Island representative. I don't know.
So have you ever interacted with music industry people?
Well, I did. When I was young, actually, that was my first way to get out of my surroundings. I used to dance. So I always acted, but again, I was something I really didn't bring up to my peers. But dancing was something that everyone looked upon as being cool. I was a good dancer, and I was dancing for different hip hop groups. There's a group called Too Poetic out of Wyandanch, and a very talented guy named Poetic. God rest his soul. He passed. He went on to beat the Grave Diggers. They were the Grave Diggers. He was one of the artists for the Grave Diggers, and I used to dance for them. And K Solo, I danced with him for a brief moment as well. Near future, you could definitely expect me to be in more movies, producing a lot of the films, and working towards my legacy. There's certain people that when they came on this earth, they came with nothing, and when they left, they changed the world. And for instance, you said that with Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Frederick Douglass. There's a lot of individuals when they left a mark on this earth. And just trying to change this earth in a better place than when I came. And leave a mark. So much. No, I don't have any. I have a Twitter account that I never use. I got one because people told me to get one. But I'm on Facebook. Edrick Browne with an E. I'm on Facebook. And I try sometimes to post the films that I do. There's a lot of my friends say you never update us to what you're doing. So I try to use that as a medium to tell people. But I'm on there. I have a couple of films out right now on DVD. I'm in the theaters. I'm Drive Angry. That's on DVD now. What else? Cool Dogs, a kids movie. Just different things out here. American Orgy. It's nothing like the title. But I'm in that as well. It's not kids friendly, but it's not as bad as the title sounds. What else? I have a movie coming called Catch 44 with Bruce Wilson, Forrest Whitaker. I think we should get out by summer. I think I have one more episode of Tremaine here. There's like 2 episodes of Tremaine. One of those should be airing again soon. So I'm around. Somewhere on the small screen of big screen.
So if I was looking to get in contact with you, how would I reach you?
Facebook. Facebook, definitely on Facebook. You want to find some of the things I've done as far as film, IMDb. There's a lot of my films on there. Just Google me, you can see those films, some of them. But there's a lot more to come this year. Again, I'm going to start moving towards producing of my own projects. You working on that?
This is Diamond J, Edrick Browne, We Rise Magazine.
Thank you.
Ayo, check this out, just a smooth beat, notorious, glorious. I'm chilling out hard with We Rise Magazine, baby, cause it's all risen. Feel me? We ain't in prison, nigga, we free, we risen.